what I'm thinking about is, if we could imagine a world in the future where every leader stood up to be a conscious leader, what do we think that would look like or feel like?
For me, this is a very tricky question because I feel in my body that I'm falling into my own biases, into the importance I'm giving to conscious leadership. And these biases would tell me, well, if every leader of every large organizations, maybe like a corporation or a government, if every leader would embrace this journey of conscious leadership, the world would be a better place, because people would be thinking of the highest good, like the greater good, for not just my own good but the greater good. So I'm tempted to say, well, if I engage in business from a perspective that I'm doing this for the higher good, then the way I'm negotiating with my clients is from a fair perspective, not to take advantage. For politicians, it would be the way they're negotiating with other country. It would be from, let's make this fair for both of us, or for, not just for both of us, but for the whole globe. But that might be a bit naive. And at the same time, I'm feeling this sense, or this need for transcendence. I'm not a specialist in neuroscience. However, the little that I know is that the brain is wired to be protective. The brain is wired to make sure that as an individual we survive. And this wiring, automatic wiring, is often bringing us in a space of, I need to make sure that I'm safe. This reactive space, again, that I said, freeze, flight, or fight. And I'm feeling that if every leader in every organization would step into a consciousness journey, it'd be a way to start transcending this wiring and recreate new wiring using something like neuroplasticity, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But recreating another type of way of being by default as a species, in harmony with the planet that supports us at this moment. And again, that I know is probably very naive, and if it happens, what happened maybe in a few centuries.
It might be the next evolution of humanity, perhaps, that allows that.
Yeah, that's my thinking too. That's my thinking too. And again, I'm also fully aware that I'm not, as much as I try to embrace as broad and large as I can in my perception, I know it is still limited. So I'm missing some pieces for sure. So these pieces that I'm missing, how would they inform me of that possible future state where every leader would engage in a journey of consciousness?
What I was thinking about that is really triggering a lot, that conversation, is that it's really a journey. It's not a destination. It's an ongoing process, right? Because I think we've learned that we just think we got it, and what I think is for the highest good might not be the highest good that other people see. So, and when I discover that next level of my consciousness, I realize that there's still a lot more for me to learn. So it is that ongoing. What do you think are pathways for people to start to develop their consciousness as leaders?
Some people that are way smarter than me have put some mapping into it. I'm thinking about Keegan. I'm thinking about Susan Kugruder. And from my very humble perspective, pathways could be very different from one person to another. Many people would say that it's through pain and hurt, and having enough of that pain and hurt, that I kind of accumulate the courage to step into something grander, to try to find another way of being, because I've had enough of that limiting way that's just hurtful for me. So I've heard that many people go in that direction. Um, I have grown in that direction also many times. Another path for this journey, I think, is just ongoing curiosity of, how can I be wrong? What am I missing here? I think that's also part of the journey. Also, what I'm finding is that when I meet someone that, when I'm in their presence, I'm feeling, it's like if consciousness and presence is emanating from them, like very high level of evolution and maturity, I get a sense, like a state of how that feels. And then it just feels right. And I want more moments in my life when I am in this state. So there's that too for me, that I find a path to consciousness. And in a more concrete way, maybe this is where your question was, Michelle. What I'm finding, and that's, I guess, more a personal experience. So someone that has a lot of research behind their belt could perhaps challenge me on this. But what I'm finding, my own journey is about cultivating the awareness of what's happening inside of me as I interact with everything outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's this discovery. More often than not, I'm very like, okay, I'm like, I'm cooking dinner, so I'm doing my things, and I'm having this kind of mindset of, I'm gonna get this structure, I'm gonna start this, and so I'm not necessarily present to what is happening. And for me, this is what I'm discovering these days, is that shift from doing something with a routine type of attitude. This is something I'm just doing it as I'm going through the motion, and then shifting from that to, how can I make this a ritual in my life? And the ritual part, there's something a bit sacred to it that I find, and there's something that brings a lot of joy for me. So my own path is a little bit like that. Like, how can I make, how can I move away from autopilot, or just becoming aware that I'm on autopilot and choosing to remain in autopilot, if this is what is, and choosing if I want to step out of autopilot and just, grab the wheel and start to pilot into what is. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that answers your question, though, Michelle.
No, that, I mean, it's great. It makes me think that the pathway is really more of that. It's that mindfulness. And Thich Nhat Hanh says, like, even doing the dishes, that they're bringing mindfulness to your activities. So many of us are disconnected from our bodies, from our emotions, from, even how our self-talk. So there's that really intentionally bringing awareness to what we're doing, why we're doing it. And I think about that Jack Mazaro, like that transformational learning, looking at what we're doing, exploring our assumptions, and understanding, asking yourself, is that true? Is that true? And it is really aligned with our development as adults, I think, isn't it? Based on what you're saying, it's our growth that we see something different, then we can move into another, even if it's a micro shift into the next stage of our development. It's quite a path.